In this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how we can use view modes in M2EPro.
That's right, and M2EPro has this really handy feature called view modes, and they allow you to manage your eBay listings once they're either live or when you've been adding products into a listing group within M2EPro and Magento.
So in this tutorial, what we're going to be looking at is where the view modes are in Magento and M2EPro, and examples of how to use them. Then we're going to look at how we can change the eBay, store and item specific values, and also how to use the advanced filters that comes with the view modes.
That's right. Now Dave, there's 3 different types of view modes in Magento, isn't there? Can you just give us a quick rundown?
There is. So firstly we have the eBay view mode, and that gives us an overview to the eBay side of all the listings that we have. We then have the settings view mode, and this is where you'll be able to see the M2EPro settings for each listing and any associated filters. And finally we have the Magento view mode, and this is where we can search and filter using the sort of common Magento values.
And a quick note here is that on all of these views there is an advanced filter available on them as well, and we'll point that out to you in a few moments. So that's enough of the theory. We're going to jump across to Magento and we'll catch up with you there in a few moments' time. So to get to the view modes within Magento and M2EPro is dead simple. And if you go to Sell on eBay and then click on Listings, and then pick on a listing group. Now we're going to pick on the bottom one because we do have some listings within there, and it's going to be able to show you some examples of what's actually going on. Now I've just been highlighted the view mode option on your screen, and you'll see it's right in the middle of the listings group within M2EPro. And if we drop that down, we can see that we've got eBay, settings and Magento. Now before we go and change those, let me just point out these column headers here. So we've got product ID, we can search by the title, the SKU or the eBay category, the item ID, quantity, buy it now, end date, and also the status on the right hand side. And just a little tip here is that if you want to find all your items which are not listed within this group, you could choose not listed and then hit search at the top, or you could find all the ones which you have listed and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me just change that back to blank. And if we now change the view mode to settings, and again, it will refresh your page for you, is that you can see that this page layout is now completely different. While we still have the product images on the left hand side, we can see the title, we can see the SKU, the eBay category, and of course the secondary category if it's been set. We can see our store category as well. And this view mode for the settings comes in really handy. So let me just scroll the screen down a touch just to make the point, which is that, can you see on this one here, so I've just highlighted the light bulbs line, and you can see that the payment and shipping settings, they're all using the listing group settings in there. So it use listing settings, listing settings, listing settings, and the same for the price and quantity and the description settings. But if we go back up and look at the one above, you'll see that it's using all the defaults just like the one below, but the description policy is different. Now this may be a little bit confusing for you because it's been and caught me and Dave out once or twice before, hasn't it, Dave?
Yes.
Dave's giggling because if we're honest, we just did that and realised what was going on. Okay, so if you do have a listing which has got a listing specific settings on there or is using a different policy, is that what you can do is that you can choose the M2EPro policy either for the price, quantity and format, or in this case use the M2EPro policy here and then do a search, and then it will then return all the custom options which you've got in there or any different policies which you're using. Now if you had set up custom settings, what we mean by custom settings is that when you listed, say, this tent, for example, is that you put specific settings in just for that listing. And if that's the case, so if we choose custom settings and then hit search, we'll get no items back because none of the items which we've got listed have listing specific settings being set on them. So let's change that back up to blank at the top. And again, what you could have done was click on the reset filter over here on the right hand side. Now, before we go off and look at the Magento view mode, I just want to point out the actions menu on the right hand side, because this is a really useful menu. And from this menu, we can change the eBay category, the store category if you've got an eBay shop or an eBay store. You can also change the item specifics, and you can also change the policies which have been set to this listing. So let's have a look and change the first one. Now, from what I've worked out, these first three options pretty much do the same thing. So I'm just going to choose the first one. And you'll see that we can change the eBay category. We can assign a second eBay category if we wanted to. We could change the store category. So let me click edit on that one and then click browse, and then maybe we put it into a hardware category, for example. And then if we make any changes, we can then click on done. And then to change any item specifics on a live or a list in which you're about to list is that if you then click on continue and you go to the item specifics tab, so let me just minimize their help there for a moment, this is where you'll find the item specifics. And again, if this was a live listing, for example, you could change it to a single skin, for example, for type of tent. And when you click on the button down at the bottom, which is hiding at the bottom of that layer, and then click on save, is that if the item's live on eBay, and of course depending upon the synchronization settings which you've got, is that M2EPro in the background will go and revise that listing automatically for you. Now, the other option which we've got here is view mode, and then we can choose Magento. Now, this one isn't as exciting as the others. It's just like this standard product grid. To say, for example, we went up to catalog and then manage products, is that it's the same kind of grid which you can see in there. Now, let me just show you the advanced filter. So I'm going to change the view mode back to eBay. And a quick note here is that if you do have members of staff, tell them about this option. The reason being is that because you may have shown them how to list or revise items, and imagine if they came into this tab, so they've come into the settings one, they're going to be looking for the eBay stuff and it's going to look a bit strange for them. So if you do have other members of staff within your business, tell them about the view mode option, because the first time you come in here and it's different, you think, oh, I've broken something, or I'm not in the right section. So do let others know that if you're using that options as well. So let's change that back to eBay. Now, I mentioned this advanced filter, and this comes in really handy for you to search on anything which is not available in any of these columns. So Dave, maybe we want to do a search for an attribute in a product, for example, one of the Magento attributes. So if you click on the show advanced filter, and then on the left hand side, you've got these conditional options. Okay, so if all of these conditions are true, and then click on plus, and now let's go and find a condition. Let's go and choose the eBay title. So let me just scroll down. Oh, there it is. eBay title. Okay, probably not the best example to use here for you. But as you can see, any of the product attributes which are in Magento, you can search and filter upon them. Okay, so you've got all the standard Magento attributes in there, and again, including the special ones which you've been added in there as well. Plus, back at the top of the list, you can also search by item ID, the title, the stock number, the category ID, the amount sold, the buy it now price, and the status, and the eBay specific value. So let's just see if we can find that tent based upon the eBay title. So I'm going to choose eBay title. So if all of these conditions are true, eBay title is, and let me just drop that down. Let's do contains, and then click on that option there, and let's pop in tent, like so. So if all of these conditions are true, eBay title contains tent. So there's lots of options in here as well. So you can do very specific searches in here. So you can does contain, does not contain, and you can also stack these options on top of each other as well. So you could do a search for all listings which contain tent, but then you could also do an extra search on here where the eBay title does not contain pegs, for example. So it will only return the items which have got tent in the title, but not pegs, so all your tents basically. Okay, so if you then press search on the right hand side, is that you'll see that we've just gone from 4 listings down to 1, and it's searched upon the eBay title product attribute in Magento. So if you think about this for a few moments, is that if you've got 10, 100 or even 1,000 items within this listing group, you can very, very quickly narrow all of the results down just to the items which you're looking for. And again, let me just point that out over there on the left hand side, is that you can stack these rules on top of each other. So just following on that example, so that if we were looking for all tents and not tent pegs, we could choose eBay title is, and then we do does not contain, and then put in pegs, for example, in there, and then it will do it for both of those conditions. Okay, well, both of those conditions are true. But what you could also do, if you want to look for either tent or pegs, what you could do is change that to contains, like so, and then instead of if all, you can change that to any, okay? And that will find any listings which you've got in this listing group, which has got the word tent in the eBay title, or the word pegs within the title as well. Now, a quick note here is that I have capitalized these options for you, and it just makes it a little bit easier to read, so you know that that's a special condition. And of course, then if you press search on the right hand side, again, we've had the tent reappear back in our list. And then if you want to reset the filters, so you want to get back to the original list, is just click on the button which says reset filter, and I've just highlighted that on the screen for you. And there you go. You'll go back to the original list of your items, and then you can either make other searches or go to another part of your Magento system.
So in this tutorial, we looked at view modes in M2EPro. We saw what they can do, and we noticed that they will come in really handy if you know how to use them.
That's right. Again, we only had 4 items in our listing group within M2EPro, but if you can imagine you've got several hundred items in there, or only more than 1 page's worth, then that's going to help you absolutely loads. And again, just jumping on into the bullet points which we've got on the screen, Dave, is that those advanced filters, again, I've used like a really basic example of trying to find items with tent or pegs in the title, or only tent in the title and no pegs in the title, for example. But just use your imagination. With the advanced filter in here, you can quickly narrow them down. And Dave, we looked at where we can find them as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we saw where we can actually find the different view modes, and it's dead easy. It's just within the listings page in the M2EPro Sell on eBay category. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we ran through a few examples on how to use them and how we have the 3 different view modes available to us, which are eBay, settings, and Magento. And like you said, Matt, the advanced filters for me is the most impressive thing, because literally it gives you the ability to search like the most advanced things that you could possibly think of. With the conditional statements, they're amazing.
Yeah, you could search for all items within a specific category with a specific word in the title, without a specific word in the title, and you can just add them in on top of each other. And again, you saw us, if we made a mistake on one and we wanted to get rid of one, we just hit the cross on the right hand side. And I also think a big one for me as well is the ability within the settings mode is to filter down to see which ones are using different M2EPro policy templates as well. And again, because I would class myself as quite an advanced user, it's really likely that I'm going to have multiple different listing templates within my system. And again, you may have different shipping policies, for example, which have been set up within that listing group. So you may have, say, 50 or 100 or more items in there, and it's quite possible for you to have different listing templates going on, and or maybe shipping templates going on in there as well, policies. And you can quickly find which ones are using the custom ones, so that you can either go and manually revise them, you can end the listings, or carry out any other of the actions as well. So Dave, that was view modes. I tell you what, let's wrap it up there. So for myself, Matt.
And from me, Dave.
Cheerios.